Jijik. Aku dulu lah mas yang dia advertise. Nggak usah join ya ini. Ini nggak usah join ya mas. Nggak usah join audio. Oke, ini aku langsung share screen.
Learning Center, IONS, ION.
Welcome to Free Online Learning by IONS International Education. So today's theme is about English for job seekers. And my name is Liat. So today we are going to talk about how to apply for a job using English, how to perfect your resume or CV, cover letter, interview, and also the follow-up emails. So nowadays, it is very, very hard to get into the job markets because there are so many competitors out there. And by competitors, I mean, well, not an actual competitor, but also people who are willing to apply for a job. And it is kind of hard to stand out when our resume is just like that, especially if we are applying to a company that is very international. So we kind of have to polish our resume. We have to polish our cover letter as well so that we are seen by the recruiters. Okay, I am going to share screen the PowerPoint with you. And then in here, we are going to learn together how to make a good resume, how to make a good cover letter. So for job seekers out there, the first thing that we need to do is to definitely look out for any place that has an opening, and then make sure that we are actually our skills are actually in line with what the company offers. And sometimes we also think that maybe I'm not up for this job. Maybe this job is way out of my league. Don't ever think of that, because who knows? Maybe because of your cover letter, because of your resume, you get that interview, and then you can prove to the company that you are actually a good candidate. So in this session, we are going to prepare basically four things. Like I said before, we're going to prepare for the resume, the cover letter, the interview, and follow-up emails. So these four things are the usual stages that people are going through. What is a resume? Well, it is a summary of yourself. Usually this is the first door that the recruiter is going to know you. And then also sometimes we are preparing ourselves to explain more about ourselves, which is why we have the cover letter. And usually the resume and the cover letter, they go together. If the I was gonna say examiner. If the recruiter asks for a resume, usually he or she also asks for a cover letter. Because sometimes your skills, experiences, and just overall abilities are not going to fit into one page of resume. So that's why we also need a cover letter. It is a brief explanation of why do you want to work there. Both resume and cover letter usually are only in one page. Well, unless the company asks you for a very long CV, in which sometimes if you are applying for a certain position, they will ask you what is the summary of what you have been doing. For example, in some universities, if you are interested to apply for a faculty position, sometimes they would ask you to provide a summary of your courses, the summary of the models that you have taught. Definitely it belongs to the resume, but not in the one-page resume. So you would need an additional page for that. Or if you are up for a quality assurance job in any company, sometimes the company is also going to ask you to provide the kind of things that usually you work for. So what kind of things that you usually test? Because, well, quality assurance is usually testing on things. Also, if you have, what is it? A publication of some sort. If you are applying for a writing job, a content writer, a content creator, usually the recruiter also asks you to provide a sample of your writing, a sample of your photograph, for example. Well, those are all belonging in the attachment part. But the actual CV, the page that's telling the recruiters about yourself, usually it is only one page. And then in here, we're also going to talk briefly about the interview. The interview is, well, a chance for the recruiters to know you better. And usually after we are sending resume and cover letter, we kind of have to wait for like 1 or 2 weeks, or in some cases a month. And then the people at the company, the HR, usually call us for an interview. And then we need to be prepared for this. And the last one is a follow-up email. The thing about follow-up emails is that it's not really common here. Not many people do this, but it is greatly appreciated. And there are actually two kinds of follow-up emails in which we are going to talk about today. So basically the purpose of follow-up emails is to keep you on the recruiter's track so that they remember who you are, so that you also stand out among other applicants. Well, basically, the highlight for today is to help you how to stand out and to get the job that you want. So let's start with the first one, which is a resume. Well, generally, a resume is a compact explanation of what we have achieved professionally. Remember, it is kind of different with resume for scholarship because while it is important to highlight a work experience too, but usually if it is for scholarship, they want to know your academic performance. If it is for a job application, then we need to explain what we have done professionally. It could be in or out of your workplace. Because maybe you are doing a volunteer work outside of your work, which can be a plus point. Or maybe you are, I don't know, having a part-time job outside of your work that somehow adds to your skills and abilities. That is also a very important point to be put in a CV. And also, generally, it consists of education, work experience, and your skills. Now, we are going to take a look at two examples of CVs. Here on the left side, we have a CV that is colorful, I would say, because it's not just black and white, and there is a picture on that. And I have to say this, that in some companies, they actually do not allow you to put up your pictures on your CV. So make sure that you putting up a picture is actually okay. Because some companies, they don't want that. They just want a CV that's just a list of your accomplishments, a list of your work experience and your skills. So make sure you also alter the CV. Although it is good to have one CV always ready to go, which means that it's always a good idea to always keep on updating your CV. But also, maybe not just have one CV, maybe have multiple CVs that you can just apply to. Like, for example, maybe you want to change jobs. Maybe you want to try on a different company. Then have several CVs prepared just for the kind of company that you are going to apply. All right, let's get back to our example. The first one here, this is, I would say, a very colorful CV, which is good if you are applying to a big company, you are applying for a design position, if you want to appeal to the eyes of the company that you are a creative person. Meanwhile, for this one, on the right side, it is kind of plain. It's only black and white, but also it is very professional because it is listing all of the education and professional appointments. So both CVs actually are very good. It just depends on which one that you want, which company that you actually want to apply, and then alter it accordingly. Okay, let's get into it one by one. The first thing that we need to do, that we need to put is the contact person, definitely. Because, well, you want to know, you want them to reach you back. You want them to let you know whether or not you got the interview, whether or not you got the offer. So definitely put a contact person. Definitely put your name. Address is optional. So you don't have to put a complete address. If you want to put only your city, that is fine. Especially if you are applying to companies overseas. Because maybe they don't know where is it that you actually live. They only know, oh, it's in this city, it's in this country. So that's what all it matters. And then your email address. Email address is actually much more important than your actual address because, well, the idea of having an address in a CV is that so the company can send you a letter, can send you an offer via letter, or sending you a time of the interview via letter. But nowadays, well, Nobody does letters anymore, so email address is much more important so that the examiner, sorry, so that the recruiters will contact you via email address. And definitely phone number. Sometimes it is a phone interview, not a in-person interview, especially in times like this. Or if you are residing outside of the company's based in, so sometimes there is a phone interview as well. And then the social media accounts, including LinkedIn, especially if you know the opening from their LinkedIn account. This will be a very helpful step for the recruiters to get to know you better. Well, provided if you update your LinkedIn profile often. So what I'm saying is go update your LinkedIn profile often because it is very, very useful. Sometimes they get a better sense of who you are as a person through your LinkedIn accounts. And if you have social media accounts, also put it there because sometimes, well, especially if you are applying for a social media kind of officer, social media, is that what it's called? Social media officer. But if you are applying for that position and then you are going to handle all of their social media accounts, then definitely put that in the CV because they also want to see how do you conduct your own social media so that they can trust you to take care of their social media. And then the next one is the education, definitely. So the things that you need to put in education is the name of your university or high school, and then the time that you finish or start, or even if you haven't even finished the education, that is fine. Just put present like this one. It means that you are still pursuing your education. And then if you want to add your GPA, that is fine, especially if you have a very good GPA, just put it there so that the examiner knows that you are a very well academia. Or if you want to apply to an academic position, like a teacher or a faculty member, that would be a plus point in my opinion. And then next is the work experience. Okay, so I'm really excited about this. In the work experience, there are so many things to write about. I have already provided here. So with the work experience, we put the company, the position, the location and dates, definitely very important. But what's also essential is to put the bullet points afterwards. You have to put your accomplishments there. Not just your duties, not just your jobs, not just what you are doing, but also your accomplishments. What have you achieved in the past, I don't know, 3 years that you've been with the company? And make sure that you have between 2 and 5 bullet points in each section. Because, well, if you only have one job, you don't need to put a bullet point. It's kind of like, I don't know, defeat the purpose or something. And then in here, your bullet points should start with a strong action verb. We are going to talk about what action verbs are later on. It also follows with an explanation, what you were doing. So it's not just, oh, I did this, I researched this market. And then what is the achievement? What is the process? How did you do that? Did you do it with a team? Did you do it alone? Did you manage to get on your quota? Stuff like that. And then over here in the third point, there are several questions that are going to be very useful for you in order to fill up these bullet points. We can write down what was the result or outcome of the work. What were your accomplishments? How did you impact the organization? What skills or knowledge did you grow? And how does this experience relate to your internship or employment goal? So talk about your achievement in the work experience. Talk about the skills that you achieved in the work, in the job that you have done, not just your duties or what is it that you're doing. Okay, you can screenshot this and then hopefully it is useful for you in updating your CV to look better. I am going to continue to the next slide. Now in here, I provide only 2 skills. We have the technical skills and research skills. However, you can find this online, basically. There are so many great resources online. And then for technical skills, we can use these words: assembled, constructed, converted, maintained, operated, spatialized, upgraded, utilized. And then for research skills, we can write analyzed, conducted, collected, evaluated, examined, extracted, interpreted, and measured. And make sure that this is the beginning of your bullet point. So the start of your explanation of what does this word bring me. And then it's not done for the work experience. Now we're going to talk about the tenses. We're going to talk about the grammar side of the resume. Your bullet statements should be in proper tense, using ed for past experiences and present tenses for current positions. So sometimes you need to apply for a job when you are still having another job. So you are still fully employed in one job, and then you want to apply to another job outside, which means that in the column of work experience, especially in this part, in the dates, you cannot really put your end dates because you are still working there. So you can put present, just like in education, but then use present tenses for that. Do not use the past tense because we are still doing this. Meanwhile, for the other job experiences that we have already done, we can put that in past tense. And then when including numerical achievements, make sure to include the quantity, population, frequency, and impact of your work. So for example, this will work well with the finance job, with the jobs that require you to sell something. If you are in sales, if you are in financing, if you are in marketing, then this will work very well because your job performance is basically equal to the number of customers that you bring, to the number of products that you sold that month. So make sure to include that as much as possible. And then read it over, definitely. So after making it, make sure that you read it over. Make sure that there is no grammatical mistake. There is nothing that is misspelled. So double check with Google, double check with dictionary, the whole thing. And this is an example that I managed to get for you. So let's see here, the work experience. Medium is the name of the company. And then head of editor and content creator, that is the name of the position. And then let's see the date here. It's still present. So like the person is still working there. And then look at the beginning of the sentences. They all are starting with the present tense. Forms a production, editing, and layouting team, approves the layout and contents, and etc. Meanwhile, for the second job that she listed, or he listed, could be a he, as a content creator, 2010, 2016, everything here is in past tense because the person has already resigned. So this is one of the examples of how to write down in the work experience column for our resume. So the grammar needs to be, altered accordingly. Make sure that there's no, like I said before, there's no grammatical errors because that could throws it away. Okay, what about if I have no work experience? Like a person that is just graduated a month ago and no job experience. What should I do? Well, you can put this instead. This is a leadership experience because maybe in the during the time of your study, you are leading an organization probably, or you join some kind of like study club and you are managing the study club, or you were helping your teachers, your lecturers to form some kind of, I don't know, tutorials or some kind. Then put it here in the leadership experience. This is optional. Oh, however, this part is not really restricted for those of you who already have who doesn't have any job experience. But if you have job experience as well and you want to include this, that is completely fine. It's even a good point, a plus point, because now the company knows that you can work very well as leading something. So you are actually a leader material, having a leadership material. So in here, it should be formatted, including like the previous sections, like in the job experience, including the bullet points. So you mentioned the position, what is it that you manage, what is it that you are being a leader of, and then your jobs, your responsibilities, and then the outcome, the whole work. All right, and then in the next step, we are writing down our skills. It can be the skills and interests. Now in here, the skills should be concrete. So try not to write down anything that's abstract, like communication or organizational or interpersonal skills. But instead, make it into something that you can prove. Make it into something that is actually highlighting your accomplishments, something that you actually do. For example, here, communication, we can change it into working one-on-one with clients. That is a good communication skills. Or organizational skills, you can write down thinking analytically. Or interpersonal skills, sorry, you can write down leading a team project, which is approved by your leadership experience in the previous column. You can also add these skills that are obvious, like the technology skills. Maybe you are fluent in Microsoft Office, Microsoft Excel. That is very useful for finance and sales. QuickBooks, that's for accounting. Maybe Photoshop, if you are doing some kind of design work. And languages. So it's time to boast. It's time to show yourself. If you are maybe fluent in many languages, then put it there. However, if you feel like you have different levels of the languages, that is also fine. Just put a bracket showing how fluent you are in a language. Like for example, you are fluent in French, but not so much in Spanish, for example. So you can write down French fluent and then Spanish, maybe upper intermediate or intermediate. It depends on you. You can actually also put down your score of the English tests that you have taken. Like for example, if you write down fluent in English and then you want to prove to the company, then you can write down English fluent IELTS 8.5, for example. Then that way it is testable. And then as well as the interest. So in here, answer this question. What are you interested in getting into? And what do you like to do outside of work or for fun? This shouldn't be really connected to the job that you are looking for. Like, for example, if your interest is in, I don't know, cooking or reading, for example, and then you are applying for a sales position, it's not really, it doesn't really match, but it's okay because actually the recruiters can like draw a red line that, oh, this person likes reading. So this person must be having lots of knowledge, stuff like that. So anything counts. Okay, now we know what should we do in each and every single step of writing down the resume. Now it's time for us to research for our resume. There are 5 questions here that are just the tip of the iceberg. You can ask if you can answer these questions, then you already have a draft for your resume. What sort of person am I? That could be in the skills and interest. What is my area of professional expertise? Job experience. What is my most important qualification? You can also put this in job experience. What is my most relevant skill for the job and what am I doing at the moment? So the last question is kind of important because it shows that you are willing to grow. You are willing to learn. Don't just say in the cover letter that you are willing to learn, but actually show it to the recruiters by putting these are the courses that I learned, or maybe these are the skills that I grow during pandemic, for example, because well, during pandemic we all had a little time for ourselves. Okay, so that is how we build our resume. Next up, cover letter. Generally, a cover letter should complement, not duplicate your CV. So do not say the things that are the same in the CV. The people in the company, the HR already knows from your CV. So don't duplicate, don't repeat, but it should complement it. And the main purpose of a personalized cover letter, I cannot stress this enough, personalized, is to persuade the reader to read your CV and consider your application. First things first, definitely introduction. So you can start with dear so and so, dear sir or madam. But if you know the name of the recruiter, it is better to mention them by name. Because sometimes, especially in LinkedIn, there is the name of the person who is doing the job, who is doing the recruitment process. So you can mention them by the name. And definitely don't forget to mention the position that you are applying for. Like for example, in the slide here, what is it? Oh, this is an application for a healthcare management training. So mention that, definitely. And the second one is the content. Well, while introduction is kind of important, well, everything is important in cover letter. The content is where you are reeling the hook. Now in here, this is a very good content. This is a very good example that I really like because in this content, it is very personalized to the company that he or she is applying for. So it is not generic. It's not just saying, I have this degree, I have this experience, please hire me. No, but in here, the person actually lists every single characteristic that he or she has in order to fit to the role of the company that he or she is applying for. Like for example here, the parts that are highlighted, this is very good because not everyone does this. He mentions how his characteristic, how his skills here, they are actually a perfect fit for the company and then how it can bring the company to the more advanced era. And as well, the person also mentioned the previous work experience that helped him into shaping his skills that they have now. So personalize the content. And while I'm speaking, you are free to capture this whole presentation just in case you want to make a cover letter and then you need a guidance. So hopefully this can be helpful for you. And then the closing. You know how to make a closing. Make sure to leave a positive remark that you are available for further discussion about your application, which means that you are available for an interview at any way possible. Because, well, during pandemic, most companies don't want to have an in-person interview, but they are opting in for a phone interview or even Zoom call, Google Meet, what have you, or like video call interview. So in here, don't forget to put the salutations at the end. That is for the cover letter. Now, because of our amazing CV and cover letter, we finally got the interview. Yay, congratulations. Now, the interview here is the time for you to shine. This is the time for you to actually prove to the recruiters that you are a very skilled person, that you are the perfect fit for the company. So, what should you do? Well, first things first, overthink about the dress. Yes, you are not wrong to overthink about the dress because you have to dress professionally. But when I say professionally here, it doesn't mean we have like one type of dresses that we say for an interview, but also dress accordingly to the job that you are applying for. If you are applying for a job that requires you to be outside a lot, applying in a suit, coming in a suit doesn't really give that kind of impression because, well, you are required to be outside a lot. So why are you showing up in a suit? The same thing. If you are required to be a front face of a company, then don't come with jeans, for example. Come with the work outfit that you are applying. And then if it is an online interview, like I said before, pandemic, unprecedented time, make sure your internet connection is stable and that your background is neutral. Neutral here, well, it's kind of like subjective, but as long as your background is not your dirty laundry, I think we'll be fine. And then definitely research the role and the company so you know what you are in for. And then prepare a mock interviews and then follow up afterwards. Definitely follow up afterwards and prepare something. So like practice the mock interview. You can do this by your friends. You can do this, I don't know, with someone that you trust or with anyone really. Okay, so let's go to the first thing that we need to do in the interview, which is to introduce myself, introduce yourself in this case. Keep it brief and relevant to the position you are applying for. Limit into your name, education, and the relevance to the job. Don't tell them about your hobby, for example, if they don't ask you, because that could be a little bit awkward. But yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of good to break the ice, but you don't know what is the mood of the company. Sorry, the mood of the recruiters, and you don't know what is the vibe of the company. So try to keep it casual and professional. For example, over here. Hi, my name is Amanda Larry. I graduated from Universitas Gadjah Mada, majoring in communication. I've worked in sales for almost 5 years now, and I'm excited to have the opportunity to join your team. So Amanda here, she mentions the relevance to the job by mentioning her previous work experience, and that she is ending on a positive note, is that she is excited to join the team. So that is always a good job. Okay. So now in here, I'm kind of excited. Oops, sorry. I'm kind of excited with this because there are some of the things from ourselves that are not necessarily bad, but you don't want to say this in an interview. For example, you find it difficult to concentrate. So like you cannot multitask. Don't say I cannot multitask. Say this instead. I try to dedicate myself fully to the job in hand to make sure it is done on time. Or maybe you don't like taking orders from people. You don't like being bossed around. You can say, I am able to organize work and prioritize well without needing to be told. Or maybe you are struggling with deadlines, like so many people do. That's fine, you're not alone. But don't say, I have a bad relationships with deadlines. Say this instead. I prefer to work at my own pace to make sure I don't miss any important parts of the job. Or lastly, this is very relatable, almost to everyone. I don't like hard work. Like, who does? But don't say that. Instead, say this. I am good at delegating work and cutting through red tape to make sure the minimum amount of time and energy is used to finish a project. So try to research first what are your bad points, what are the things that you shouldn't bring up in the interview, and then change it into good points. And then in here, we have several questions that we should or shouldn't ask. Do ask these questions. Do you offer a training? If so, how long is it for? Or can you walk me through a typical day of this role? So basically, well, day-to-day basis, what would I do? What would be my responsibility? And this is very important. Is there a career path? If you are looking for a career path, sometimes they don't really mention this in the job vacancy. You can ask this to them. However, don't ask these questions. How much is the pay? Wait until they offer you. Or would I get a company car or credit card or mobile phone? Or when do I start? So the questions that are related to material things, you should wait for them to offer you. And then you can, if you are not satisfied, you can counter with another offer. So try to, Try to keep your questions into the role, into the job, into the job area, into the area that is actually related to your job. Anything about perks, benefits, money, salary, wait for them to bring it up. You're not satisfied, that's okay, counter them. Offer them something else. And then that way, it is polite and everyone's happy. Okay, this is the last one, follow-up emails. There are two types of follow-up emails. The one is after the interview. The aim is to thank them after the interview and that you are keen to hear about the next steps. So usually in here, you send it right after or a day after the interview. And the second one is, this is kind of like a heartbreaking email that you have to write down because you haven't heard back from them. So the aim is to remind them about your application because maybe you are up against, I don't know, 300 other applicants. So it's kind of easy to get lost in the mail. I was going to say mail, but no one does mail anymore. Kind of lost in the email. So you can actually email them to remind them. This is the example. Again, you are free to capture. You can mention the date of your interview. So after you finish the interview, you can follow up with a thank you email, kind of like a thank you note after a present. Mention the date of your interview and mention the position you're applying for, and then thank them for the interview. Simple and then straightforward. Meanwhile, for the second one, the kind of like heartbreaking one, after you submit an application, and then if you haven't heard for 2 weeks, remember, we kind of have to wait. Not just after application and then sending the email right away. No, that is not a good etiquette. So wait 1 to 2 weeks. Research says, the one that I read, 2 weeks after waiting, that would be the optimal time to send these kind of emails. And then make sure the recruiter doesn't explicitly say that following up is not encouraged. Because in some company, in some cases, the recruiters don't want you to follow this up because maybe the application process is very long. But if you're sure that the recruiter doesn't mind, then yes, wait until 2 weeks and then send one of these emails. And then wait. Hopefully you get the job that you want. And then that is it. So those are the 4 things that we need to prepare in order for us to, I don't know, look for a job. And then if you need more practice, you can just contact us at real.ions or just come to our building here. You know where it is. It's in Jalan Simanjuntak. It's kind of like near Mirota. You can also visit our website and then call us, text us via WhatsApp, or visit our Instagram. That is it, I guess. And before we go, we have a special, well, not a special, like some kind of like a promo for you. Now in here, if you are already vaccinated, you can get a discount, a special discount up to 20%. And this is for the general English class, conversation class, IELTS, TOEFL, SAT, and TOEIC class. So basically almost everything. So make sure you get vaccinated. Well, when you are vaccinated, you are kind of like safe from the virus, and then you can get a special discount, 20%. Thank you so much. That's all for me. If you have any more questions, you know where to find us. You know what to do. And hopefully you have a nice weekend, and hopefully you are staying safe out there. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
One Stop Learning Center.